This video is all about food. That includes some of the tastes that are among the most traditional here in Paraguay, and also some of the restaurants that were my favorite places to eat in Asunción. I didn't get a chance to try every dish that is a part of this country's culinary culture, but I ate a lot of them. Let's get to what you can expect to eat if you ever visit Paraguay. Paraguay might not possess the culinary reputation of some other places, such as Peru. Still, however, there are dishes that are important to the people here, and foods that have been passed down from generation to generation. I'll begin with some of the plates that are found in just about every restaurant you can find in the country. There is La Herencia Tienda. It's a fantastic looking place with indoor and outdoor seating and a very friendly staff. I went here quite often for coffee, but they offered some food options as well. These are two of the country's most traditional dishes. I will start with the Mbeju. Mbeju has been around for centuries, and there are all sorts of variations. I went with the most basic. Mbeju is essentially a starch cake, and its roots go all the way back to the 18th century, and it originated with the indigenous people who lived around Asunción. Mbeju is generally considered an accompaniment to other food, something to eat alongside your main meal. To some degree, I think that is the case with the other item I ordered here. The Chipa Guazú is actually sort of similar because it's served as a side dish. It is a cake made of corn, onions, and Paraguayan cheese. While the ingredients were similar, the taste and textures were different. Of the two plates, I have a clear favorite. The Mbeju is okay. It's a little bit dry and not very interesting. The Chipa Guazú, on the other hand, is moist on the inside, so flavorful. I'll have this again. As with all of the dishes I'll mention, don't take my comments as high praise or an indictment of any particular type of food. My experience is limited to one restaurant on one day. My next stop is La Paraguayita. As is the case with most of the places I visited, it is not far from where I stayed near the Las Mercedes neighborhood. The first of my two dishes is Sopa Paraguaya. It is corn flour, onions, cheese, and milk. The ingredients sounded promising. Also, sopa means soup, but this is actually dense, not like soup whatsoever. It's more like cornbread. I have to be honest, I'm not a real big fan. The flavor is there, but it's not as moist as I thought. It's rather dry. I have to take a bite of this and then a drink of water. The other item I dug into here was a soup. This looks more like it. It's actually called Vori Vori queso, which is a traditional soup. It has little balls in it made of corn flour and cheese, sort of like matzo balls, and it's in a thick broth with lots of vegetables. It turns out what I had here was far from the light lunch that I had envisioned. Everything, the Sopa Paraguaya and the Vori Vori, were heavy. As anticipated, I do like this a lot better. It's very flavorful. The balls made of the corn flour and cheese actually still a little bit dense for me, but only marginally so. I would have actually preferred this without the corn flour and cheese balls. El Café de Acá is a fantastic little eatery. It is situated in an interesting complex with shops and museums. I found Tereré on the menu. Paraguayans drink that and its hot version mate all day long. You have obviously heard of UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Well, this drink has a designation all its own. UNESCO has named it an intangible cultural heritage. All kinds of different herbs can be added to the liquid in these drinks. The herbs might infuse this with some medicinal benefits, but there's not much that it does for the taste. It's cold, it's wet, and it's refreshing, but the flavor is just like a weak tea. In addition to the tereré, I got a unique plate that is called Dulce de Mamón, which is made from papaya. This is made by boiling the papaya in sugar and water. Then it's simmered for at least 2 hours until the fruit softens. That process makes the papaya super tender. The lengthy time that goes into preparing the dessert is well spent. You might think that something like this would be sickeningly sweet, but that's not the case at all. There is a syrup that forms through the process, but this is astonishingly good. I savored the Dulce de Mamón, taking my time to appreciate every single bite. Two final notes. One about the preparation here. The papaya is paired with Paraguayan cheese, and that makes for an incredible bite. Plus, The longer the water and the herbs sit together, the stronger it becomes. Now, instead of a weak tea, this is a very strong and bitter tea. The drink and the dessert actually work together. A bitterness from the tereré and a sweetness from the papaya provided an interesting balance. I ate at Nya Ustakia numerous times, but mostly I had non-traditional meals. An exception was that one day I ordered Bife Koygua. This dish is a soup. It has steak and then a lot of vegetables, potatoes, tomatoes, carrots, and then a poached egg right on top. The combination of all those ingredients produced a hearty, pleasurable bowl of goodness. I am so impressed with this. The beef is very tender, the broth is very flavorful, and that egg on top adds quite the finishing touch. As an aside, there are very few dishes, in my opinion, that can't be improved by the addition of an egg on top. Poached, fried, whatever, it doesn't matter. I wandered into El Peruano one day for a bite. The first stop is the counter. There you place an order, then grab a table and wait for your number to be called. I was far from being alone. No doubt this is a popular place, and it appears that it's the type of place where you want to get there early if you want a specific dish. I ordered, and I thought the guy said it was out, and I got this instead. This is a Milanesa. Think Wiener Schnitzel. At this point, I don't even remember what I initially attempted to order. It was not a problem though, as the Milanesa proved to be a good choice. Just as with schnitzel, Milanesa can be made with any kind of meat. Chicken, beef, pork. This appears to be veal. It is very tender, and I tell you, the breading on this is phenomenal. Maybe it was that the restaurant was out of several other menu items, but I did notice that the majority of my fellow diners also got the Milanesa. A little bistro just a few blocks from where I stayed was probably my favorite place that I ate in Asunción. I first visited La Antilla on a rainy Sunday. I ordered off of the temporary menu. I have no idea how this is going to taste, but it absolutely looks phenomenal. This is shredded lamb and honey on a bed of pureed pumpkin with Brussels sprouts. And then this drink just sounded too interesting to pass up. It is grapefruit juice with a shot of espresso, sweetened by honey. The lamb and honey combination had a barbecue flavor. The pumpkin puree was phenomenal, and the Brussels sprouts, well, I didn't care for them as a kid, but I loved them as an adult. As spectacular as this plate looks, it tastes even better. It is late fall here, and this dish is very appropriate for the season. In my time here in Paraguay, this is the best thing I've had. Usually with a meal, I have only water, but I was intrigued by the idea of a drink, including both grapefruit and coffee. It is a little bit tart, and you can definitely taste the espresso, but the sweetness is there. It's a wonderful combination. The concoction was a startling revelation, which has encouraged me to try other unusual drink mixes going forward. The meal as a whole, it felt like an alternative Thanksgiving. Another of my favorite places was Bakuri. It's a hip place made of shipping containers in the Villa Mora neighborhood. An unexpected treat was a single tapioca fiber cracker with a spread to go on top that I was given at no charge.
It comes with ricotta cheese, onion oil, a green onion, and black pepper.
The crunchy cracker and the delectable spread left me wanting more. This is just a bite, but it is magnificent. That was a fantastic introduction to Bakuri, and the high standard that was established carried through to the end of the lunch. Sometimes you do things just for yourself. I come here looking for traditional Paraguayan dishes on the menu, and then I see ceviche. It won out. I have high hopes for this. If you watched any of my content from Peru, you probably saw me enjoying ceviche. During my month there, I had it at least a half dozen times. Ceviche is not a traditional dish of Paraguay, but I can see how it could become one. This stacks up very well against any ceviche that I had in Peru. I highly recommend Bakuri for anyone visiting Asunción. Back in Las Mercedes, I sat outside at Caru for lunch one day. It was a beautiful setting where I followed through with my new attitude about beverages. The drink here is new to me. It's pineapple and lime, and it's really refreshing. I think basically every Latin American country has a great deal of respect for empanadas. Paraguay is no exception. Empanadas are very versatile. You can put just about anything in them. The one that I got is eggs with green onions. Just look at that. Wow. I found that wherever I traveled, whether it was Mexico or South America, empanadas were always a good option. Just from appearances, you might guess that the empanada dough would be rather dense. Just the opposite is true, though. It's very light. Then, filled with the breakfast goodness inside, and then the pineapple and lime juice, this is quite the lunch treat. I'm still amazed at how many really high-quality restaurants were within walking distance for me. I spent some time at a street fair one afternoon. There were many food vendors. After watching it being created for some others, I had to try Lomito Alemán's. As I'm sure you saw as it was being made, this is meat with a lot of vegetables, some slaw, 3 different kinds of sauce. It is fantastic. It is a delicious mess though. It is almost impossible to eat. That's why I'm just now getting to talk about it when I'm almost finished. Alemán's in Spanish means German, and Paraguay has a large population of those with German heritage. After finishing off the Lomito, I grabbed a juice. Juice stands are very prevalent here. Just in general, the fruit in South America is absolutely amazing. The juice that they get out of that fruit though, this is pineapple, it has pulp in it, it is cool, it is refreshing, it is fantastic. This was a fun little party, and the food and drink enhanced the experience. Every day there were quite a few food vendors on the streets of Asunción. I walked by this woman selling churros on numerous occasions. I think anytime you're anywhere in Latin America and you see a churro stand, it's probably a good idea to stop. Got one right here. Caramel filling, I'm gonna be happy. Like empanadas, churros seem to be quite popular throughout all of Latin America. It's just about the perfect treat. You've got the crunchy outside that's sugar-coated, and then the creamy caramel filling that is nice and sweet, and it's only 3,000 guarani. 3,000 guarani comes to about 40 cents when converted to US money. I spoke about the Lido bar in my first video from Asunción. I had an empanada mandioca there, along with a coconut and milk drink. The Lido bar is one of the 2 most talked about eateries in the city center. I went to the other as well. Every city you visit, there's always a restaurant or 2 that people say you have to go there. Dulce is one of those places here in Asunción. I got the Sopa de Surubi, which is a fish stew. I have read that Sopa de Surubi is one of the most popular lunch dishes in all of Paraguay. There's a good reason for that. Sopa de Surubi is a broth at its base, but this also has a lot of fish in there, some vegetables, and then they add some milk to it to provide some richness. This is a small serving, but it's big on flavor. I thought both Dulce and the Lido bar were solid choices downtown. Finally, I returned to my favorite place, Lomito, one more time before leaving the country. I did the grapefruit and coffee drink again, but went a bit more traditional with the food this time. I was actually somewhat surprised when the plate arrived because I ordered Rellenos Pollo, which is chicken and peppers, I thought, but there are no peppers on the plate. Not the first time that I've been surprised. I did look it up. Rellenos refers to the stuffing mix. My confusion was that often the mixture is placed into peppers. This is one instance where surprises can be rather delightful. This is chicken and it's sort of rolled around some ham and cheese. The cheese is spectacular. And then there's a mushroom sauce on top that is simply incredible. My second visit just solidified Lomonto's place at the top of Asunción's food chain for me. There you have it. Some things I liked, some things were not quite as appealing. It was plenty of fun though, going to different places and trying all sorts of new dishes. Everyone has their own tastes, of course, so some of the plates that I like, you might not care for, and it works the other way around. The important thing is to be adventurous and try something out of the ordinary. You might just find a new favorite. I'll see you next time on Old, Alone, and Far From Home.